First pitch coming at you from where the lights shine brightest here in beautiful Hollywood, California. Welcome in to the very first episode of Hollywood Rips, your one-stop shop for hobby news, on-field performances, and the sports card market. I'm your host, Mr. Hollywood, joined alongside by the man, the myth, the Jonas to my right. We're heading into the meat of the baseball season with so many early headlines to keep an eye on. The Yanks leading the East. Somehow the Guardians and the Royals are riding 8-game winning streaks. The Mariners, Phils, Brew Crew, and losers of 5 straight Dodgers round out our other division leaders as we quickly approach June. Jonas, my friend, give us the 411. Break it down. Impart your knowledge.
Oh, my knowledge? Please. It's just a few observations, a little smattering of what I see. I sort of base it off of like preseason expectations, which of course take that for what it's worth. Kind of worthless until you actually play the games, but I think you kind of hit on it. The AL Central, what the heck is going on? Like, to be honest, if I saw the standings of the AL Central, or at least the records between the Central and the AL West, I think it'd be role reversed, right? Where did the Guardians come from? How are the Royals right there? And then what's going on with the defending World Series champions as well as their fellow Texas foes, the Houston Astros? Texas and Houston, tough starts. That's sort of what's caught my eye so far.
Yeah, the Rangers and the Astros, probably everyone's bigger surprises so far to start the year, aside from, as you said, the Royals and the Guardians atop.
Even Minnesota's been solid, though.
Yeah, they have. They have. I want to touch base really quick about the AL West. It's looking pretty weak so far this year. The Mariners on top of that division to start. Do you have any thoughts on the West?
Lots. I mean, first and foremost, the Mariners are dealing with pitching because Jerry Dipoto has wheeled and dealed and shed here, traded Kelnick, Wright. Eugenio Suarez is no longer there. J-Rod, Julio Rodriguez is a star. We know that. But the rest of the roster's not really putting up the stats offensively. But that staff, George Kirby especially, Mr. Efficient, Luis Castillo firing away. They're being carried by their arms. But look, the Angels are pathetic. To be behind a team in Oakland who's not even bothering this year says a lot. And we've already touched on the Texas two-step of disappointment, the Rangers and the Astros. We're going to touch on some of those performances with the defending champs, the Rangers. But the thing about the Astros are they have some expiring contracts. Some of those veterans we're used to seeing could be trade bait, something to keep an eye on. And Kyle Tucker, by the way, is having a fantastic year. It's everyone else that's really not taking care of business.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker, always a perennial all-star. Borderline, I feel like if this guy really had a big season, it might be an MVP type season. But we're going to jump into hobby news for this week. And as much as we want a juicy baseball-related story for you, we just can't glaze over this one. We need to have a talk about one of the biggest inserts in the sports card world, and that's the Kaboom. 23-24 Panini Crown Royale was released a few weeks ago, and this might be the worst centered card of all time. Whoa. Take a look at these photos of the cards and pay attention to how horribly centered the front of the card is. First, I'd like to point out that the exclamation point in Kaboom isn't even on the card. It's printed onto whatever was behind the card when it was printed. And don't even get me started on the back centering of that card. PSA has graded 87 of these bad boys so far, and there have been a grand total of 0 10s, and wait for it, 0 9s, 0 for 87 so far. There are 46 PSA 8s, 36 PSA 7s, and 2 PSA 6s. I want to throw this over to you, Jonas, but I'm just going to need to start on this one.
Yeah.
2024 is the year of the dragon. Very important year. You know what else this year is the year of?
What's that?
It's the year of the Victor Wembanyama rookie card.
So something else that's like extraterrestrial.
Exactly. The Kaboom is one of the top 3 inserts of the year. Base Kabooms sell for thousands of dollars on the regular. Golds numbered to 10 sell for high thousands to 5 figures, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000. For the really big guys, we can even see gold Kabooms hit the 6-figure mark. And then, of course, you have the green 1-of-1 Kaboom. In this case, that Wembanyama green 1-of-1 Kaboom. Who knows what it's worth if his black 1-of-1 prisms are selling for $500,000 plus already. Wemby just had a rookie year that was better than anyone we've ever seen.
Right.
You put his stats side by side with LeBron James, and he actually outperformed LeBron in virtually every single stat category. And he played 10 minutes less per game.
Unbelievable.
10 minutes less per game. Victor Wembanyama's ceiling is outer space. I mean, maybe the next galaxy over from us. I'm not really sure where the universe ends, but maybe somewhere there.
That's deep.
I'll go there. But if this isn't screaming that Panini doesn't care about its customer base anymore, I don't know what is. I want to get your thoughts on it. What do you think about this travesty that we're seeing, aka Kaboom?
We're getting to the point where the only Paninis that we care about are from Panera.
Yum.
Yum. Ah. So his ceiling is outer space, and that's why they call him the alien, right? And we're going to talk about the Martian later, the Yankees prospect. But it's really interesting because Wembanyama's card and his rookie card is probably the most anticipated and the most sought after since, I was going to guess, Zion, maybe all the way back to LeBron, though. Like, who's another rookie that had that kind of sensationalism around them? That, I mean, Zion was hot when he came out, but I remember back in 2003 when LeBron entered the draft along with D. Wade and Carmelo and Darko Milicic. But but nothing's had the same hype. Andrew Wiggins was hot, but Wembanyama's been a different level. So for that to take place, I mean, that's pretty cataclysmic. I can't believe that that's the case, that they made these kind of mistakes on something that's so sought out. I mean, it's so sought after. I think it was you that posted it, right? The video or the picture of Victor Wembanyama looking for Victor Wembanyama, right? He was trying to find his own cards.
He's looking for his own cards, yeah.
So that's how sought after it is. He wants a piece of himself. So I can't believe that this is the case with these cards.
And even as a collector in the hobby, you know, these cards are grading 6s, 7s, 8s. And you know, I would still love to have a card like that, even in a 6, 7, 8. It's not necessarily, you know, this is just, it's kind of beyond comprehension for me that the quality of the card can be this bad, considering what's at stake in terms of who this person is, what he means to basketball going forward. But I got to stop talking about this topic.
Well, I have a quick question really quick. Because we just saw, like after the NFL draft, right? We saw all the top NFL rookies just came to the LA Coliseum and did their Panini photo shoots, right?
Right.
So are we seeing similar lack of quality that you've seen on football? Because I hazard a question here, and that maybe they're putting all their focus on the gridiron and maybe skipping a bit here on the hardwood. Just a theory. You would know better than I.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's necessarily an issue of that. I think a lot of people would agree that Panini tends to have more product issue problems than, say, Topps does.
Regardless of sport.
Regardless of sport.
Okay.
I think this is really a centering problem because we've seen a lot of the Beckett subgrades come back on the Wemby Kaboom, and the subgrades have been good. They've been 9.5s, they've been 10s.
Yeah.
This is a centering problem. I have no idea why they did it, but they did it. Here we are. But we're going to shift gears. This morning, we had some breaking news in the baseball world. As just hours ago, Braves outfielder Ronald Acuna Jr. went down on the base paths, grabbing at his left knee after being thrown behind in this morning's tilt with the Pittsburgh Pirates. You can see it on your screen now. Acuna exited the game, and the Braves are calling it a left knee soreness for now. It's already noted that he will be going to the 10-day IL. It's important also to note that this is his left knee, not his surgically repaired right knee from his ACL tear a couple seasons ago. Obviously, sending get well wishes to Acuna. You hate to see this sort of thing happen to such an incredible player. Jonas, any thoughts of the impact this could have to the Braves early on in the season?
Yeah, you lose arguably the best pitcher in baseball, Spencer Strider, right at the outset of the season. You lose the unanimous MVP from a year ago, albeit a guy who was struggling a bit, but still impacting the game in other ways, much like someone else we're going to talk about a bit later. But we've just seen the video being described as left knee soreness. Does that look like left knee soreness for a guy who's down on the ground writhing in pain?
It looked pretty serious to me.
Yeah.
We'll see what the scans pop up, but we needed to touch on it.
Yeah.
But we're going to move now into our baseball card market update segment of this week's show. We saw slight gains on the more modern side of things with the 1990s 2010s and 2018 to 20 up 0.7, 0.8, and 0.9% respectively. 310 sales. The early 2000s seeing a slight dip of 0.4% with 29 sales this past week. On the vintage side of the spectrum, we saw a 0.6% decrease in the junk wax era cards from the 80s, and relatively flat this week here in the 60s and 70s, 40s and 50s. 183 total sales from those three eras last week, with 0 sales, surprisingly, from the 1909 to 1939 baseball card market. Jumping into the ultra-modern and our weekly list of whose cards have been hot and whose cards have been cold. Starting this week's countdown on who's hot to trot, we have Yankees outfielder Juan Soto. Soto has gone 15 for 52 over the past 2 weeks, scoring 13 runs, mashing 5 homers, driving in 10 with an OBP of 367. His season OBP sitting over 400 with 14 home runs and 43 RBIs. The first head of that two-headed monster outfield in New York, Jonas.
Yes. And the Yankees, coming into today's recording, had won 4 in a row before losing 5-2 to the Padres. Still, won 7 of their last 10 games. And Soto, along with one of our other focuses coming up in just a moment, are a major reason why. He's still taking his walks, which has always been a major part of his game, but he's back to slugging. And that is something he got a lot of flack for. He was criticized heavily last year in San Diego for taking the walks, but not necessarily swinging for the fences. He's hitting homers, he's still getting on base, and he honestly just feels like the most perfect fit possible for the Bronx and to be wearing those pinstripes for another decade or so. I mean, what a perfect fit. It's been crazy.
Yeah, this is the Juan Soto that Yankee fans and Yankees management hoped they would get. As we take a deep dive into the card numbers for Juan Soto, we can see his 2018 Topps Chrome Update rookie card and a PSA 10 is up 31% over the past couple weeks with 65 sales. The card hit $115 the other day and is a very high population card with over 13,000 PSA 10s in existence, but nonetheless, it appears people want a piece of a potential $500 million man.
They do know they don't get a piece of that contract, right?
Go figure.
Okay, just make
as we move into our next hot bat of the week, and surprise, surprise, it's the other head of that two-headed monster outfield. Juan Soto's teammate Aaron Judge continues his onslaught on pitching this week. After a concerningly slow start to the year, he's only swatted 8 homers, driven in 14, gone 20 for 44, 17 runs scored over the past couple weeks with a 569 OBP. His season line now up to 17 homers and 39 RBIs. That's 13 home runs this past month for Aaron Judge, without a doubt, at full health, full bore. The best 1-2 hitting punch in the American League. Judge is cooking. Bronx Bombers are looking dangerous, Jonas.
The Judge is dealing out punishment left and right, and another Yankee. Obsessed much? Anyways, he's back to leading MLB in home runs. At least he's tied as I'm researching these notes. And he's leading MLB in OPS, and he's leading the league in slugging. He's a formidable force. He is terrifying. Aaron Judge is in full effect through this early part of the season, and him and Soto are wrecking havoc on the AL and whoever they face.
The scariest 1-2 you can face back-to-back, without a doubt. As we take the data dive into Aaron Judge, we can see his 2013 Bowman Draft Picks prospect card is up about 14% over the past couple of weeks in PSA 10 condition. A moderate 11 sales of the card, up to $120 yesterday. This one widely considered his first Bowman. A lot of people not liking how this is his first Bowman. It's not necessarily indicated on the card. To me, I like it a little more. It's more simple. And how can you not love those teeth smiling in that photo as we move into
Before they got fixed.
Yeah, into our final hot card of the week. And no surprise here either. It's Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher Paul Skeens. That's kind of a tongue twister. Yeah. In his last 2 starts, he's gone 12 innings pitched with a win and 14 Ks, compiling a minuscule 0.75 ERA and an even smaller 0.67 whip. Paul Skeens is a game changer for this Pirates team, no doubt. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's completely changed the face of that rotation in just 3 starts. Now, he did finally face a team not named the Chicago Cubs the other day, and it was still a pretty solid start. But it's interesting, because when you think Paul Skeens, what do you think? 1, at home, speaks for itself. 2, mustache, love that. And 3, you think 100-mile-per-hour fastballs time after time again with a wipeout slider. So in this last start against San Fran, which again, pretty good, 6 innings, only 1 run, but only 3 strikeouts. Sign of a guy who's a pitcher but not a thrower? Or a sign of the league maybe making some adjustments? Again, I wish my down start was 1 run in 6 innings, but you know, you think Paul Skeens, you think strikeouts. So for him to only get 3, I found that a little bit interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Considering he got 3 strikeouts within about the first 90 seconds his last time out.
Literally the first 3 batters he faced.
Yeah, for 7.
Right.
As we data dive into Paul Skeens for this week, his 2023 Bowman Draft first Chrome autograph card is up over 62% over the past 2 weeks in PSA 10 condition, over 40 sales of the card in the same time span. With each passing day, seems to just get a little bit higher with a pop count of just over 300 PSA 10 copies worldwide. This guy seems to be primed for a run at potential NL Rookie of the Year, hopefully barring disastrous elbow or shoulder injury, as we've seen with so many pitchers so far this year. But as always, where there's an up and a down, a light and a dark, a Charizard and a Weedle. We have 3 cold cards this week, starting with a guy who was a hot commodity to start the year. We're talking about shortstop Elly De La Cruz. The Cincinnati infielder has gone 10 for 51 over the past 2 weeks with 4 runs scored, no homers, 3 RBIs, and 6 stolen bases. The Jekyll and Hyde nature of Elly De La Cruz seems to be rearing its ugly head for the first time this year. Jonas, thoughts on Elly?
Man, you really hate Weedles. I don't get it. Anyways, yes, he only has 4 hits the last 7 days. Yes, he's striking out way too much. 70-plus strikeouts already to start this year. But to me, the value is still there. And I'm not out on Elly De La Cruz at all. First and foremost, sophomore slump. It's not unheard of. But he's still affecting the game in a multitude of ways, right? He's not just leading MLB in stolen bases. And you're looking at my notes, which means you're about to cheat when I ask you this question.
I can't see him, too small.
Fair enough. He's blowing out the competition. He has 31 swiped bags already, which in of itself is crazy. But do you know how many Bryce Terang of Milwaukee and Jose Caballero of Tampa Bay have in second place?
I can't see that.
But you know.
I actually know because I just picked up Bryce Terang in one of my fantasy leagues the other day.
All right.
So I know he's got 19 stolen bases, but
bingo, you cheater. 31 though to 19 in second place. Elly is still playing a really good shortstop. I saw him throw out Shohei Ohtani on like a 4-chopper up the middle, took his time and still fired that cannon. The value is still there. He seems more than talented enough to figure it out at the plate. And if worse comes to worse, he's a .220 hitter who hits bombs into the river next to the Cincinnati Stadium. So
no one's doubting the talent with Elly De La Cruz. As we dive into the data on Elly, we see his 2024 Topps Series 1 base card in PSA 10 condition is down 17% over the past couple weeks, down to around $50. But more importantly, this is a high volume decrease with over 100 copies of the 1,800 pop count sold in the past 2 weeks. Just to give you an idea, that's over 5% of the entire card population being sold in the past couple weeks. Not a good sign for Elly De La Cruz investors. As we move into our second cold bat of the week, and it's another one of Elly's rookie class members, and boy, this one has been ugly. Let's have a chat about Rangers outfielder Evan Carter.
Let's talk.
Obviously a huge part of their World Series run last year, but over the past 2 weeks, he's gone, ready? 0 for 17.
Wow.
No runs scored, no home runs, obviously.
Right.
No RBIs, no stolen bases, with an OBP of .056. He did get a walk in there. He's been dropped to the 9th spot in the order, Joe. What do you make of Evan Carter's sophomore struggles?
He's putting up a Panini Wembayama number with all those zeros, right?
Yeah.
Zeros on 9s and 10s and all that. My thoughts are, it's worrying, right? I mean, remember, he came on in such a flash last year. He came up. Remember all the stories throughout their postseason run about he barely had time to settle. He was living in a hotel the entire run up until the World Series, right? Like, he came up, was immediately inserted into the lineup, and just took over and made the outfield his own. But now he's getting settled. And now he's getting worse. I find that really, really weird. Is he too comfortable? I don't know. Like, his place was given to him. He didn't necessarily have to earn it. His start isn't bad. It's abysmal. And, I mean, look at his WAR. 0.6 WAR. He's an average replacement player. That's a big yikes for me.
Big yikes. His production obviously was a huge part of their World Series run last year. You've had a bad start from Seager.
Yeah.
Obviously, Josh Young still on the way back from wrist surgery. Scherzer DeGrom still not available. You know, Wyatt Langford hasn't been everything that has been touted. Danger zone for the Rangers here. Already under 500, and you know they really need to get it going if they're hoping to repeat or even make the playoffs this year. Taking a look at the tale of the sales on Evan Carter's 2020 Bowman Draft First Chrome autograph, down 43% over the past month. The last sale being $219 in a PSA 10 on May 19th. This is obviously, as we alluded to before, team down arms, team down players. Really the last thing that the Rangers need as we move into our last cold bat of the week. And this one's a little bit of a surprise. It's actually a bat that hasn't even played in a very long time, but it's Yankees outfielder Jason Dominguez. The Martian, so he is called, after getting called up last year and setting the hobby world on fire, had season-ending shoulder surgery, was one of the big chases out of this year's rookie card sets, ironically along with Ellie De La Cruz and Evan Carter.
I sense a theme.
Talk about sophomore slumps.
Yeah.
But he has started his rehab assignment, yet his cards have been faltering as of late. The Yankees outfield looks stacked, and who knows if there's room for him in that outfield. Could we see the unthinkable? Can Dominguez be used? Can he be dealt as a trade chip to strengthen this team for October? What are your thoughts, Jonas?
I think that's a bit of a stretch. And I think the caveat here is that it is a rehab assignment, right? And he's coming back from Tommy John. And in fact, while he's been down in the minors, I have the note right here, he did just hit his first home run yesterday at any level, so professional level, either in the majors or in the minors, since September 8th of last year.
Right, I was going to say,
which is when he was actually up in the Bronx. His numbers are on a bit of an uptick, and the value should be returning pretty soon. To me, that says get in back on the Dominguez train right now. We've talked about the alien in Wembayama. This is the Martian. If anything, I see this as a late season call-up to really push the Yankees in this AL East battle against the Orioles. I don't think it'll be a trade chip, barring something ridiculous.
I could see that. The injury concern also seems to be like sort of a problem.
Yeah.
You know, if they're trying to trade him, we've seen so many trades or free agent signings nixed because of injuries in the past couple years. As we take a gander at the Jason Dominguez card market, dark have my thoughts been as of late. As a wise king in Lord of the Rings once said, down 22% over the past couple weeks, with 45 sales of his 2024 Topps base rookie card in PSA 10 condition. Last sale was right around $20. We'll keep an eye on his rehab assignment progress, but a clear path into the majors and a long recovery period seem to be testing collectors' patience on Jason Dominguez. As we move into our prospect spotlight section of this week's show, where we go over 3 prospects we think you need to keep your eyes on, and this week we're starting off with Arizona Diamondbacks third baseman, first baseman, DH prospect Davison De Los Santos. This guy is absolutely raking at AAA Reno now, just got the call up, hitting .365 on the year with 14 bombs and 40 RBIs through 167 at-bats. The kid is just 20 years old and has demolished every single level of pitching to this point. Where does he stack up as a major leaguer?
You know, it's funny. You and I were having this conversation, and we were talking about these players even as soon as last week. And we're like, well, we're going to start with the guy who's the farthest away from the majors. And lo and behold, he just got promoted 5 days ago to AAA. Why? Because AA was way too easy for him. He hit those 14 home runs, all of them in AA, in only 38 games. He still hasn't hit a home run in AAA, but you said first baseman, third base, DH. His best position right now is the batter's box because the guy hits and he hits bombs. So I think we're going to see him within, I don't think this year, but within a year or two for sure.
I agree. Hopping into the numbers for Davison De Los Santos, his 2023 Bowman Chrome first prospect autograph in PSA 10 condition, sitting at around $140 a card, up 32% over the past month, as he continues to absolutely mash minor league pitching. Of note, you can see the card on your screen now. I find his autograph placement on his Bowman cards to be hysterical. How or why, your guess, as good as mine, but maybe he was blindfolded or something, using the same blindfold that Panini had on when they were designing the Wembanyama Kabooms this year. But I digress. As we move on to our next prospect watch of the week, and it's Nationals outfielder James Wood, who is doing damage at AAA Rochester this year, hitting a .355, 9 home runs, 31 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, through 166 at-bats so far. OPS over 1,000.
Yeah.
The 6'7" lefty surely is due to get a shot sometime this year. And what a jolt of excitement it'll be for Nationals fans everywhere, Joe.
Yeah, C.J. Abrams seems to be the real deal at shortstop. Mackenzie Gore has turned out to be the ace that the Padres thought he was going to be. And so you're looking for the rest of the pieces, right, to fill out the rest of that roster out there at Navy Pier in D.C.? I don't know what the area is called. Nationals Park. The kid did have a bit of a dip in production last year, but that coincided exactly with his promotion into AA from high A ball. He started out in AAA this year, and he's ripped it apart. You said the stats. He's knocking on the door. In fact, he's busting down the door of Nationals Park. I think we're going to see him sooner rather than later.
Agreed. As we look at the numbers on James Wood's 2022 Bowman First Chrome Prospect Refractor autograph, which is numbered to $4.99, done a handful of sales in the past month to the tune of $950. Ooh. Just a few days ago in a PSA 10, that is 43.9% increase in the same time span. A true five-tool player with all the potential in the world to make that Nationals outfield something to behold in the future. You cannot forget that the Nationals have a guy named Dylan Cruz lurking in that system as well, the main 2024 Bowman baseball chase. As we move on to our last prospect to watch, and it's a guy whose call-up is imminent. Maybe we're just waiting on some service time manipulation from the Rays, but we're talking about Rays infield prospect Junior Caminero. After a brief stint in the majors last year, he was optioned back to AAA Durham to start this year after a brief injury. He's hitting a modest .271, 7 homers, 23 ribs to start the year. He's a career .310 hitter in the minors with 58 homers. This is a really big bat. Surely Junior Caminero is on the way up soon. Not a whole lot more for him to learn in the minors. When do you see him coming up, Jonas? Is he ready to make the jump full time?
Yeah, the fact that he's in Durham is bull. There you go. Look, they need to bring him up before it's too late in the AL East. And in fact, it already might be. I know it's late May, and anything can happen over the course of 1 week, but they're already 10.5 games back behind the first place Yankees. You say, are the Rays doing roster manipulation? Yeah, probably. The Rays trying to find every advantage possible? I think that's probably the case. But at the moment, all it's doing is hurting them. The hitting is what it is. You know who the guy can hit. What you need to do is take a look at his position log, because what's happening with the Rays is third base, they're getting everything. Isaac Paredes literally leads the Rays in every major offensive category except for runs, because he can't drive himself in. That's the issue, right. Except for on home runs. So you take a look at the logs. Yes, Caminero's playing a lot of third base, but there's a few second base game logs sprinkled in there, and that's key because the Rays are getting nothing from their second base position. Lau did hit a home run yesterday, but it's about time. Yeah. So that's the biggest key to see that Caminero will be here sooner rather than later, because that's a black hole of a position for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, when you think Rays, you don't necessarily always worry about their pitching staff. Although they are short arms this year, are they ever? But they still kind of manage to piece it together every year and have a more than serviceable pitching staff. You worry about the offense. Taking one last dip into the data for this week's episode, we can see Junior Caminero's 2023 Bowman First Chrome autograph in PSA 10 condition, once again. There on your screen, up 12.6% over the past month with 13 sales. The last sold price of the card was $349, and as always, depending on his performance when he comes up, within the first week, we could see that price going a whole lot higher or a whole lot lower, a la Jackson Holiday.
Ooh.
But I think this guy at this price is one of those guys with huge upside. So we'll see how things shake out. But that wraps things up for us here at the studio for our inaugural episode of the Hollywood Rips Baseball Podcast. We want to thank you again for taking the time to join us today. If you enjoyed the video, big if, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. It really helps us get this content out to you guys on a weekly basis. And don't forget to ring the notification bell as well so you know when our next podcast or product review gets the green light. So thanks again, and until next time, that's Jonas. I'm Mr. Hollywood, and we'll see you next week right back here at Hollywood Rips.